Earlier I said I was going to talk about one particular recommendation to give you a sense of the kinds of things that could be done from the financial planning side of this conversation. Now, the caveat here is this is not to be tried at home. This is not something to just go ahead and do because it needs to be looked at with all the other recommendations in the context of a financial plan. I said that the heart of the financial plan is investments. That's what allows for the fulfillment of goals like retirement, education, and other major purchases. Now, for most people, the way that they build their investments is out of their cash flow. Now, sometimes people receive an inheritance, so they might win a lottery or something like that. But for most people, they grow their investments from their cash flow. IRAs, 401k contributions, things like that. So that really is cash flow management. So while we can say that investments are the heart of the financial plan, the cornerstone to the plan is cash flow management. For most of us, probably the largest purchase we're going to make with our cash flow is a home. And how we pay for that home has an impact and an effect on everything else, such as the accumulation of our investments. It'll consume a major portion of our cash flow. So how we set it up in the first place is very important. Now, many people take out a 15-year mortgage. Why? Well, the idea is that we can pay off the house in 15 years. Well, that's true. Another thought is we save the additional interest that you'd pay with a 30-year mortgage. That's true, but it's misleading. Another reason is the interest rate is lower than a 30-year. That is true, although it's not much. And then the last reason a lot of people will use is that, gee, well, the payment's just a little bit higher for the 15-year than it is a 30-year. No, not really a little higher. It's actually considerably higher. So for the sake of this discussion, we're going to use a sample home. And that sample home is somewhere in suburbia, $250,000 home. People are putting down a $50,000 down payment, which is 20%. And the balance, $200,000, is financed with a mortgage. Now we're going to ignore property taxes and insurances and sales, commissions and so on, because that's going to vary, and we're only working with what we can control over time, which is the mortgage. So we're going to talk about what's called principal and interest, or P&I. If we talk about the 15-year mortgage for a moment, 15 years, what we call straight amortization fixed rate mortgage, 4.75%. The monthly payment for those 15 years would be rounded $1,557 per month for 15 years. The other mortgage we'll talk about is a 30-year mortgage. Same $200,000. The rate is slightly higher, it's 5%. And the monthly payment for 30 years, rounded, is $1,074. So that's a difference of almost $500, $482. Well, for the argument that the payment's a little bit higher, the 15-year payment is about 45% higher than the 30-year payment. So it's considerably more. Now, the interest on the 15-year mortgage over the life of it is about $80,000. The interest on the 30-year mortgage over the life of the mortgage is $186,000, more than $186,000. That's $106,000 more interest. That's a lot of money. It's like 2 times the amount we're going to pay in the 15-year mortgage. Well, in a few minutes, I'll show you why it doesn't matter. Instead of taking out the 15-year mortgage, take out the 30-year mortgage, but pay it as if you had a 15-year mortgage. And people say, oh, you mean just pay the extra money to the bank to pay down the principal? No, that's not what I mean. What you do is you make the mortgage payment to the bank, the $1,074. Then you take the additional money that you would have paid had it been a 15-year mortgage, which is $482, and invest that in what we call a side account at an average of, say, 10%. Now, you have to invest fairly aggressively. You can't be super conservative, but you don't want to be overly aggressive. You're investing for growth. Well, at the end of 15 years, the side account, assuming an average of 10%, will be worth a little under $200,000, $199,775 to be exact. That's for the first 15 years of the 30-year mortgage. Now we have the second 15 years. So, for the second 15 years, you stop making the mortgage payment. You stop making the investment of $482 in the side account. Instead, you go to the side account, and the side account sends a payment to the bank of $1,074 for the rest of the 15 years. That amounts to about a 6.5% rate of withdrawal. Now, because you're pulling money out of the side account, you're probably going to create some tax impact, depending on how it's invested. So, figure around 8% is your total withdrawal to make your mortgage payments from the side investment. Well, if the account's averaging growth of 10% and you're pulling out 8, that means it will still grow, albeit more slowly, at about 2% per year. So, what do we have? At the end of 30 years, the mortgage is paid off. You've had 30 years of tax benefits because you've had the mortgage for the entire 30 years. Even though the side account's been paying it for you the second 15 years, you're still getting the tax benefits of the mortgage for the full term. That's total deductible interest of about $186,000. Deductible interest over the 30 years. You paid exactly the same amount that you would have paid for a 15-year mortgage. Exactly the same amount. It's just where we put it's different. You stopped payments, and the side investments took over after the first 15 years. The side account is now worth about $270,000. This is after the 30 years. So we have the house paid for, tax benefits for 30 years, and a side account worth almost $300,000, simply in how we made the mortgage payments and where we channeled the monies. The owner also had a fallback protection, sense of fallback protection. What I mean by that is if you had a 15-year mortgage, you have to make a $1,500 a month payment. With a 30-year mortgage, you only have to make a $1,074 payment a month. If the owner, the breadwinner, whoever lost their job or became disabled, you wouldn't have to make that higher payment. You could fall back and not make the side investment temporarily. So there's a little bit of protection there. The second thing that's important to realize is that all of our expenses will continue to go up over time, except the mortgage. That stays flat. So while it's the same in real dollars, because of inflation, it will shrink as a percentage of the total expenses. That's one of the advantages of having a long-term payoff like a mortgage. So that's what you can do with a mortgage, one of the alternatives. As they say in late night TV sometimes, the ad pitch men, but wait, there's more.